All right, today another one of my very favorite players, someone whose records I've been playing along with for 20, 30 years. Um, Rod Piazza of California. And let me briefly, we've talked about this a little bit here and there. And I played part of Rod Piazza's tribute to George Harmonica Smith when we did the episode on George Harmonica Smith. And George Harmonica Smith kind of created a harmonica scene on the West Coast. You know, like all these guys from Chicago or Magic Dick is something else in Massachusetts. But I gather that George Harmonica Smith was very generous as a mentor and taught a whole bunch of several harmonica players who were subsequently among the best in the world, and also really took George Harmonica Smith's legacy and continued it in various ways. Like if George Harmonica Smith had been a young man in 1970, he was born in the 20s. I guess he wasn't that ancient, but if he had been a young man in the 20s, maybe he would have started to put out the albums that Rod Piazza put out in the 80s, 90s, 2000s. You know, like maybe Rod Piazza sounds as George Harmonica Smith would have wanted to sound if he kept going after a while. Or maybe not. I mean, you know. But Rod Piazza, William Clark, who we'll do next, James Harmon, to whom I might devote a episode. I don't know. I'm working on figuring out the rest of the episodes. These were young white harmonica players that emulated and were taught by George Harmonica Smith. Rod Piazza, what a great player, was in a band with George Harmonica Smith, Bacon Fat. There are some recordings. I really would like to hear some harp duets, and maybe they're out there between George Harmonica Smith and Rod Piazza. But it actually seems like maybe the way they collaborated in that band, Bacon Fat, was that they gave each other breaks. Anyway, most recordings don't feature two harmonicas. I don't think. I mean, the ones I've heard. But they do. But if you're wondering who's playing, it's real hard to tell. Okay? Because the way Rod Piazza plays lots of third position, like George Harmonica Smith, big chunky tone, like George Harmonica Smith. One thing I said about Portnoy in the last episode was that I just love the way a harp sounds in his mouth. Like it's always just like it's got the perfect timbre. It's very harmonica like his and I would say the same about Piazza. Maybe those are the two I think about. And then again, I want to say, I guess for my money, the greatest master of third position harp. Now, Rod Piazza. Have I said this? I think I probably said it about Carrie Bell. I probably said it about George Smith. And I probably will say it again a little bit about William Clark. But man, no one played third position more or better than Rod Piazza. So all this time, he's been in, he's had this band, the Mighty Flyers, featuring his wife, Honey, on piano, who's a fine boogie piano player. I've never seen these people, but if I got a chance, I guess I would still try. Piazza must be in his 70s, huh? All right. I guess let's try just a few examples. Let's see. Okay, I guess one great Rod Piazza record is the Jimmy Rogers album. Okay, that's Harp Throb from the Jimmy Rogers album Feeling Good. Jimmy Rogers, Muddy Waters original guitar player or whatever, made some great albums, and that album Feeling Good is it's one of my favorite blues albums. I mean, partly because it's got Rod Piazza and doing this great harmonica throughout, including a couple solos with Jimmy on guitar. But that is a very sophisticated, fully worked out third position thing, Harp Throb. I've worked on it quite a bit too, man. It's a pleasure to try to play that thing. And I mean, I can play it a little bit, but I can't play it like Rod, because Rod just sounds so good and so distinctive too. I'm trying to figure out how to describe him, man, but as a player. Yeah, anyway, at times he reminds me of Butterfield. At times he reminds me of George Smith, of course. He'll roll some Little Walter, Big Walter, etc., and also original riffs and stuff as well. And I guess just one of my big harmonica heroes. You're probably picking that up. We also played The Bounce by Rod Piazza. That was maybe in the Little Walter episode, the first episode, because I was showing like the kind of things you could do with the with that riff, the juke riff. All right, now even just that, which is based on juke, will send you to discover more notes. I mean, I learned a lot listening to these Rod Piazza instrumentals. Like that one, I mean, that helped me learn the upper register of the harp really late, but it really did. And okay, and all right, now one thing is, and I was delighted when I heard this. I figured out in the 70s, when I was in junior high, the biggest act, okay, besides like the Shaft soundtrack, Isaac Hayes and stuff, was the Jackson 5. And they did a version of Rockin' Robin. He rocks in the treetops all day long, hopping and popping and singing this song. And I realized pretty quick that I could play that on the harmonica real sweet. And I thought I was the only one. But then I heard Rod Piazza do a version of Rockin' Robin. It's part of a little thing with Little Bitty Pretty One is the... Listen how good that sounds. So delightful. That's right, Robin. Well, believe it or not, when I did my little gigs in junior high and high school, that would be something I would pull as a solo. I just start like blowing Rockin' Robin in the middle of a blues song, and with the right audience, like kids. Who knew that song right at that moment or whatever, like they just go like, yeah, So that was my little trick. But Rod already had it on board, probably. So there we've heard a couple of really good cross harp things, man. So precise. I mean, I guess like all the good things I've said about everybody, they all combine in Rod Piazza. The tone is so good. Man, he can play as fast as he likes, but it's so juicy blues. Um, I guess no one has ever really explored third position harp as thoroughly as Rod, and man, I mean, he's done all kinds of stuff with it, and he'll play chromatics. This is also part of maybe George Smith's um, influence. He'll play chromatic. So will Clark. He likes to play big harps and low tuned harps and stuff like this to get different kinds of sounds. Um, and I don't know, just like I said about Portner, like I'd like to know the whole rig and everything, right? How you get that sound. Cause like, has harmonica on record ever sounded much better than this? Well, one thing I say, like, he made it easy in one way. He put out, I think only a few years ago, a collection of all his instrumentals, or a lot of his instrumentals, 24 of them, I think, 25 of them. And so you can listen all the way through Rod Piazza's harmonic instrumentals. It's a unique album, really, a unique collection. And if you're a harmonica player, man, you should study it, dude. Many amazing moments. But let's try this one. Again, this is one of my favorite harp solos. This is in Cross. Is that right? The Upsetter by Rod Piazza and the Mighty Flyers. Oh, that's so precise and so good. Every single note in those runs rings perfect. Like, this is what I'm saying. It's like with Portnoy, the harp never sounds better. And then the way he flies up on the upper end is kind of unique. Just like, I mean, I don't know how to describe it. The suck notes up there, 7 and 8, he makes these beautiful noises up there. Well, that's a hell of a thing, man. Like, if you listen to the Upsetter, well, I mean, there can't be many better blues harp players than that. That's for dang sure. All right. Now, so let's try a couple of other items. I mean, okay, so, well, I should talk about him as a vocalist a little bit. He's quite a good singer, and maybe not quite as strong as Clark, but good. And so like these, I think if you went and saw Rod Piazza and the Mighty Flyers, you would have a lot of fun. And it's not that he's just playing harp instrumental after harp instrumental. He's singing the blues and doing a good job as Honey plays some piano. I mean, let's try this as more like typical. I mean, so on every Rod Piazza album, there's a couple few instrumentals, but the more typical Rod Piazza and the Mighty Flyers, he's singing the blues songs, some covers, some originals. Let's try this one. This is Come On Home. Was this Alphabet Blues was the name of this album, I think? Probably early to mid-90s. Alphabet Blues being really the signature tune of George Harmonica Smith, okay? There's a lot of tribute to Smith in various ways, just like sometimes you just hear him hit a note, especially in third, and you go like, that's another tribute to George Harmonica Smith. Not that he's purely derivative or anything like this. A lot of the stuff we've been playing is not stuff that George probably could play. Like, it's very technical and shit too. In the pre-Overblow style. So let's try this one, Come On Home, by Rob Piazza and the Mighty Flyers, featuring Miss Honey. Listen to this, man. Just the way he hit that. I mean, you know, I don't know what key's in there actually, but I'm trying to remember where that lick comes from. It's an old one. But the way he hits it, dude, is unique. It's hard. It's perfect. I mean, it's powerful. It's perfect. Okay. I guess like I'm saying about Portnoy, like I just the way the harp sounds on a single note or in a little run, the way he works out even a familiar riff so that you hear every note perfect with maximum expression, the lucidity of his playing, and then the blues feel of his playing, which is always there, man. Like I guess I feel like this came from Smith, maybe, you know, anyway, but he comes by it honest, or maybe it's DNA, man. You're born with the blues, baby. It sounds right when you play it. It sounds like you were born to it. I think Rod was, maybe. Well, it's the kind of stuff you learn too. Okay, what else should I try here? I guess I'll try to show you some different Rod Piazza sounds. It's like, okay, this is a long career, and you know, you could just play the same furious harp solos over and over again, you know. But he really explores, and he works, like I say, a lot on probably initially larger marine bands, the double marine band kind of things to get the lower end, or maybe you know, low-tuned harmonicas as those became available, and also chromatics. And then he also is experimenting some with effects and different amplifier moves, I guess, and he gets lots of different sounds. And I guess you need that if you're going to have a 40-year career as a 50-year career as a harmonica player. Like it just, this album has to sound a little different, or like this song, let's do something fresh, like let's change it up. I mean, there's a lot of examples of this. Like, he really does some stuff. Okay, there's a lot going on there, man. That's a chromatic, I think. Yeah, and he's and he's giving a third position vibe, a minor key vibe that he favors. I mean, he usually plays in third position, um, like George Harmonica Smith. Even though we've seen some beautiful cross harp in here, um, I just think that's a little bit of a sound that you hadn't heard before on the harmonica, right? Ba-da-da, wa-da-da, ba-da, wa-da-da. Maybe you heard that, but and jazzy, you know, little hard bop flavor there, maybe. I think um, he sticks to the blues in some way, but it he hits a lot of flavors of the blues. Um, from slow to fast, jazz oriented to, straight 12 bar Chicago, uh, more boppy stuff, swingier stuff. I don't hear him swinging like Portnoy. He's more ahead of the beat than Portnoy. He plays swing style at times, but he doesn't really swing. He drives. I guess as I've gone through this, I've worked this out a little bit. Like two kinds of harp players: one that drives it forward, and one that eases it back. Maybe Junior Wells eases it back. James Cotton drives it forward. Right. Charlie Musselwhite eases it back. Paul Butterfield drives it forward. Okay. I think maybe Portnoy eases back, and Piazza drives it forward. I mean, these are too general because they've all recorded so much, and they can hit different flavors. But just like the overall vibe, I feel like each human has a rhythm or something, and I can hear this more with harmonica players than anyone else because I sort of know what they're doing or whatever. All right, and at this point too, I think Rob Piazza's artists like this should be getting Kennedy Center honors. These are American treasures, American masters. These are sort of among the greatest American musicians that are alive now, if you ask me, are still alive. And so I don't think that Rob Piazza or the late William Clark or Jerry Portnoy or Charlie Musselwhite even really have gotten what they deserved, man. It's like I say, great American masters. Well, just to give you a last maybe flavor of, is this the last thing I'm going to play? Yeah, maybe so. All right, here I think he's also playing chromatic and also in a kind of third position mode, but showing you like different, more new directions for the harmonica, really. Even pretty late, okay? Like maybe this was recorded in the 2010s, okay? This is called Soul Master. Has a little soul finger. That is really cool, and it's really different, you know. Um, I guess if you just been listening to a whole bunch of Piazza, it might not be that surprising. But if you were listening to a whole bunch of other people, it might be quite surprising. I don't know. Just what a very fine player. Rod Piazza, one of the great living masters of the blues harmonica. Harp throb. He's got another one called heartburn, I think. Alright, well, I'll just let it play to express my devotion to that song and to Rod Piazza, the great master. Alright, that's the latest. My baby plays the harmonica. We're getting through it, man. There ain't that many episodes left, I think, probably, at least in the blues section. Maybe we'll do some country, though. Wow.